y'all. Welcome back. First off, you see your girl is a brown mommy.
Okay, baby. She's vacation ready.
Yes, but welcome back to another episode of Too Much with
Shey
and Becca. Hey, y'all.
We have a very, very, very special episode today. If you are new here, thank you so much for pressing on our video. We appreciate you. Thank you to all our new subscribers. If this is your first time watching our video, this is something different, right? Usually we talk about news, sports, culture, all the things that are trending on social media. But today we are going to talk about something a little bit more serious, but I think it is important. Also, happy Halloween if you're watching this the day that it drops. In honor of Halloween, we are talking about something that might be even scarier, honey. Scarier than all the costumes that we may be seeing outside. And it is the upcoming New Jersey governor's race, okay? This November 4th, voters will decide between Democrat Mikie Sherrill and Republican Ciattarelli. And today, we're going to break down what each candidate stands for and what it could mean for you if you are a Jersey resident. First, before we even started recording this, I was trying to give presidential, like, I'm the candidate. Becca, would you support me if I decided to run for governor?
Yes, especially because I know I'd be the one running the campaign. Girl, you would get.
I told her she would be my chief of staff. I don't even know if that's a position, just like for governors.
Honestly, I would be her Olivia Pope. I would be on everything. I'd be like, next question, cut it, dead.
Yeah. So comment down below if you know me for real in real life, if you would support me as the next governor of Jersey. But until then, I am not running. And so we're going to talk about the people that actually are running, okay? Because this is important. I have this shirt here. I'm not going to lie. The first time I voted was in college because growing up in Patterson, I don't know, people don't really talk about politics. It's more so like you live in paycheck to paycheck, life is moving, and you're not thinking about politics. But when I voted, they gave me this shirt here. I have a little prop. Rebecca's like, what is she about to show? And it says, grumble, complain, blame, tweet,
vote,
protest, and then vote in like all caps. That's what counts, okay? Because I see a lot of people, especially my age, that love to complain day in and day out, but you don't even know what a voting booth looks like. So
but
I don't want to
know what the studio looks like for that weak album that you're trying to put out.
Okay, and no shade. We support everybody's dreams. If you're trying to become an artist, good for you, Buki. But what I'm saying is make sure you get in that voting booth, because you tweeting about all the things you hate in your community is not going to change anything. I've said this several times. I don't want to hear, oh, I don't care about politics. All politicians are the same. Okay, great, dandy, that's fine. But at the end of the day, somebody is going to be elected, and the decisions that they make will impact you whether you like it or not.
And I remember Shayla made a great point, because I do follow into the group of people who don't really care about politics. Like, I'll vote because it's my civic duty, and like I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I take part in every election, because I don't, right? But the elections that I have taken part in, as long as I know like who I tried to vote for and who I tried to, I guess make a difference with, whatever the outcome was the outcome. And I can't sit here and be like, oh, I feel bad for when I see people who did vote differently than me saying that they regret it. I don't feel bad for you, because I think also ignorance is very bliss. And people think that because this one person said this one thing that they agree with so heavily, that automatically dictates to them that that is the person that you need to go for. There's so many different things, especially when it comes to decisions, whether it's like taxes, this, that, and third. And, we're going to get into all the hot button issues, but people feel as if like, if I voted this, okay, great. Or if I don't vote, I'm not a part of the problem. And I'm one of those people who believe that sometimes, but then I have to clock myself like, no, Rebecca, because then like, if you didn't sit there and put a say in, you can't, like what Shayla, you said this one thing one time, it's like, people don't care about politics until politics has to deal with you.
Right. It's like you care when it's too late. Like,
So it's just like, you can say all you want now, especially like with this past presidential election. All
mhm.
people are like, I don't care about either candidates. And trust me, I get it, because even in this current election, I don't care about either of these candidates.
Yeah, and I want to put an emphasis on this. All politicians have a dark side, have a red flag. The same way we are not perfect, these candidates are not perfect. So if you are waiting for a perfect candidate to drop out of the sky, baby, I'm here to tell you that that is never going to happen. All of these politicians have their, their red flags, just like us. And as we break down all of these topics, we've broke them down into core issues that we feel like, people in our state care about, right? We're going to talk about taxes, immigration, education, housing, energy bills, which has become a hot button topic of like, PSC&G is acting crazy with the price hikes, healthcare, social services, their connection to our current president Trump, their prior roles in government, the endorsements that each candidate has gotten. And we will highlight some of the red flags that each candidate have, because this is not specific to one side or another. So yeah, let's get into it.
I just wanted to say really quickly,
Mhm.
I wanted to finish my point
Oh,
earlier.
I'm
So
sorry. Yeah.
like, no, it's all good. Like we mentioned, like especially with this past presidential election, everything that has happened, there's people who sat there and said that I'm not going to be a part of the problem because I'm not going to vote for either of them. And the amount of people that I do know who are on SNAP benefits, and we're about to hit November 1st. Yeah, we are in November 1st, technically.
Well,
Technically.
this is dropping on Halloween, so happy Halloween. The 31st. Tomorrow
Okay.
will be November 1st.
Yes, yes, for sure. So, like, when November 1st comes, some people don't know what they're going to do when it comes to putting meals on the table, because SNAP benefits are potentially not going to be there. So, it's just like, you got to take into consideration all this. And again, we can't foreshadow everything, because who knew a government shutdown would be happening? But it's like, be conscientious of who you want to align yourself with. And even if the vote doesn't go your way, know that who you wanted isn't who the majority wanted. And now look at the repercussions that we're facing, you know?
Mhm.
But like Shayla said, let's get into it.
All right. So the first hot button issue that we're going to break down, and every topic that we talk about, we're gonna give Mikie Sherrill's side, what she claims that she's gonna do to help or fix the topic, versus Jack Ciattarelli. So the first topic is taxes, right? Mikie Sherrill says that taxes in New Jersey are too high, right? And that families need relief without losing important services. She supports expanding tax credits that help parents and working families, and closing loopholes that benefit large corporations. On property taxes, she wants towns and school districts to share services so homeowners are not overpaying for local costs.
Yes. And so Jack Ciattarelli says that the state's tax system is broken. He wants to simplify income tax brackets, lower business taxes to attract companies, and cap how much property taxes can rise based on home value. He says local governments need to cut waste to keep spending in check, right?
Mhm.
So when you have these conversations, because a lot of us, especially when it comes to the idea of property taxes, some of us don't even like, we rent apartments, like,
What is that, honey?
right. We like, who's a property tax, right? And
Yeah.
as someone who, my parents have owned their first home, they have their second home, like, not, we don't got two homes, but like we moved into a second house.
Right. You guys been through the
Right.
process of what home ownership is.
Exactly. So like I've seen, like, my parents tell me about like how much like property taxes have increased. And I feel like, with inflation, everything goes up. Like everything
Mhm.
follows. And even if it seems steady right now, it's going to increase eventually, because when prices go up, you got to find a way to balance it out.
Mhm.
So the conversation we're about to have is basically like, property taxes are the biggest complaint in the state. So do you
Mhm.
think that either of these plans actually could work or benefit New Jerseyans?
My thing is, I feel like when I read these like two sides thing, I think Mikie Sherrill is thinking more of like
That
helping families, right? When it comes time to like, she supports expanding tax credits, right? Tell Oh my God, my bilingualness is coming to me. So, if you don't know what a tax credit is, that's like some people that do have kids, right? When they file their taxes, they get a child tax credit, right? Which essentially means that you get X amount of money because you have a child, right? Um, and Mikie Sherrill is saying like that's something that she supports, right? And when I hear Jack Ciattarelli, he's saying that he wants to lower business taxes to attract more companies, right? Meaning that if you want to open a business, right, or you're a corporation, we'll lower your taxes in order for you to come here and, flourish and build your company. And I think in the long term, that's not good. I feel like a whole lot of people are already moving to Jersey, right? Because we're more affordable compared to, we're close to New York City. We are, if you're from New York or Jersey, we're like cousins at this point. You come here, we go there, and we are a family. But the reality is that so many people are moving from New York to Jersey that now Jersey is becoming more expensive, right? Like I'm from Patterson and I see people are trying to build like these very fancy apartment complexes that who they're so expensive and so new that their goal is essentially that, like, the people that were raised here, they're not going to be able to afford these apartment complexes. It's like
Gentrification.
exactly gentrification. So I think that lowering business taxes is not the way to go, because these are the people that can afford to pay these taxes. Like the working families are the ones that are struggling. We need to be finding ways to make it easier for the regular person, not the company, to be able to, grow and build businesses and just be able to afford a home. So, in my opinion, I feel like Jack is more focused on the business aspect of taxes versus Mikie. I think she cares more about, making it more affordable for the regular person. That's how I see it. But then again, it could just all be politics talks, because one thing about politicians, they will sell you a whole dream, honey. And then when they're in office, it's like, okay, so how are you actually gonna deliver on all these
Right.
promises?
I think for me, one of the things you highlighted earlier is the fact that like everyone is flawed. I think
Mhm.
there is no perfect plan because you can't make everybody happy. Someone's always going to be disgruntled about something. I
Right.
think, to your point, Mikie Sherrill is focused more on the family aspect, and I feel like Jack Ciattarelli is focused more on like the business corporate aspect. And I can see points in both.
Mhm.
I think for me, what it is like I mentioned earlier, the majority. A majority of people are not business owners, right? A majority of people who live in New Jersey are working class families, people who go to a 9 to 5 every single day, people who, not even a 9 to 5, different work schedules, but whatever, like who
Yeah.
clock in, clock out, go home, cook food, be a family person, and then the cycle repeats. There
Mhm.
are business owners. I do know people who are business owners, but to say that a majority of people I know are business owners is not factual, you
Right.
know? So I just think the majority. It's like, yes, we can help these businesses. We can try and bring all these corporate, and like the amount of times people complain about all these companies that do come to Jersey, and then you start seeing all the trucks, then you see all the traffic, and then it's just like there's a downside to everything. Even though this might seem like an improvement, there's downsides to everything. So
Yeah.
I think for me, I just feel like the best way to go about it would be everybody get leveled out differently. So businesses get this percentage of taxes, families should get this percentage, and go based off that, like do
Mhm.
like category based rather than like a collective type of thing. I think both their ideas could work depending on which way you lean, but
Yeah. I mean, the common ground is that they both admit that the tax system is broken and something needs to give. So they both agree their approaches are different. The
yes.
next topic.
Yes, this one is a truly hot button issue, especially with the current person in office. Immigration
Mhm.
has been discussed out the wazoo, right?
Endlessly.
Endlessly. And immigration is the problem to everything. Forget there's been problems happening in America for 15, 20 years. Immigration is the issue, right?
Mhm.
So the first one is Mikie Sherrill supports keeping the current protections for immigrant families in place. She says that the state should enforce its own laws while keeping communities safe and avoiding policies that could separate families.
And then for Jack Ciattarelli, Jack takes a stricter approach. He wants to repeal the state rule that limits how much local police can work with federal immigration agents. He says towns should be able to decide their own policies on immigration and border cooperation. So we've discussed this here. Okay, immigration always brings heated opinions. Is either you see it this way or you see it that way, right? Jack says repealing protections makes communities safer, but Mikie says it causes fear among immigrants. Who do you think New Jersey voters relate to more on this one? I feel like for background purposes, I think Jersey is known to be a blue state, but as the elections have, as years have passed, we are leaning more towards becoming a red state. I believe I read in a political article, like Jack Ciattarelli was only 3 points away from beating Governor Phil Murphy during the last election. So this is why this is such a high stakes thing, because for many years it was like, of course, Jersey is going to vote blue, like of course. But as the years have gone by, people are like, oh no, this might not be like a blue state anymore. And also, Jersey is seen as like an immigrant safe haven in a sense, right? Like, oh, there are a lot of immigrants here. There are a lot of people that don't have papers, and Jersey was seen as a safe place, which is why Jack, I feel like, is saying like he wants to make it like less of a safe haven, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, to your point, like when you asked, who do you think voters relate to the most? I feel
Mm-hmm.
like you got to take into consideration that every community looks very different.
Right.
The town I live in looks completely different from the one that Shayla
Yes.
lives in, right? And so I think his point about every every town should have their own way of how they deal with the stuff. He said that, right? He says towns should be able to decide their own policies. That is going to be problematic because it's all depending on who the majority is in those communities.
Right.
And it also is going to depend who they have in offices in those towns. So yes, New Jersey has been, a blue state for a while. Like we typically vote blue, but
Mm-hmm.
we also have to acknowledge that there's towns that are red. They have Republican mayors, they have Democratic mayor. I said Democrat mayors, So
Yeah.
it's all depending on who's the majority in those towns, which is why I feel like that is when the backlash is going to happen. Because I've been seeing a lot of these little different ICE raids happening in communities that are predominantly immigrant and urban or everything like that. And we've seen the backlash that they have gotten from the politicians in those areas versus you rarely see ICE officers going into the red states because they're not people there. They're like the immigrants are not there. And if they
Yeah.
are there, it's like 2% compared to
Yeah.
the
Oh
whole
my God. Can you tell the Home Depot story, or you don't want to share that?
Home Depot.
Yeah,
Oh,
about how you just drive up.
oh
It's
my
like a custom that happens in her
they're not
town.
there no more, girl. Okay, it's not Home Depot. So, like, whenever you want like a home construction,
Wait, before you even continue, backstory, I live in a urban area, like low income brown and black communities, and Rebecca lives in suburbs. So this is why this was like,
yeah.
okay, continue.
So you could tell who's the predominant in my town, right?
Right.
Um, don't think that I'm one of them bougie little suburbs girls like, oh my God, I will check you. Don't play with me. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so I was telling Shayla because like where my town is located, we're located near a lot of urban areas too.
Mhm.
So like when I need stuff, I go to the urban areas because I want to be with my people. They got the good stuff. I don't care what nobody tell me. So there was one day I was telling Shayla, I was like, oh, like I think I had to do some home construction project. Like we had to do like a painting or something like that. I was
Mhm.
like, the town next to me, that's a urban area is called Plainfield. I was like, yeah, like I might just go to Plainfield and pick one of the people up to come do the project for me. And Shayla was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's the thing. Like they stand on the street, like, obviously they don't got papers. I'm assuming that's why. And, they give you a price and they'll come to your house and basically do the work for you. And Shayla thought that was such a crazy,
I
like,
just think that's so disrespectful because obviously like the whole thing they're there is like, oh, because you're gonna get a better price with them, because again, the reason most likely they're standing there is because they got no papers and they're just trying to get money. And I was just like, oh my God.
but it's like, I feel like it's all about your intent as well. So like let's say what like an example, they were trying to charge like for 4 rooms, they were trying to charge like $450. So we ended up giving them $600 instead and we fed them and everything like that. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't go about it in like a disrespectful way. It's just like it cuts corners. Like instead of me sitting here, I have to schedule an appointment, schedule an assessment, do all this. I
Yeah.
know you could do the work. You come to my house, you do it, I give you everything you know, and you go home.
No,
And we
of course, you provide them a real like good experience, right? But I'm just like, I can only imagine
the
the
people who
scary
don't.
stories that they have had. And it also showcases when people try to fear monger, like, oh, migrants want to come here and they want to take your jobs and they're just gonna shoot you. It's like they're just trying to get their bread so they could send it back home and and supply for their family.
And I'm also going to mention this because it's actually quite sad to think about. But like because I used to love me, a little trap king, like,
Girl, bye.
so they would like I would hear certain phrases that I never heard about. So like on the same front, like I said, like I would go, you go to this one area,
Mhm.
you tell them what you want, they'd be like, all right, I could do it for you for this much. There was also a thing where like people would like because they always had cash on them, they get robbed a lot. And like who can they complain to? So like they called it because it's predominantly a lot of like Latinos who are doing it, right?
Mhm.
So like they would call it poppy hunting, like
That's so bad.
terrible. So like what we would do too, would be like, where do you live? We gonna drop you off home. I'm not gonna drop you back off on that so you can walk home. Like where you at?
Yeah.
Let me drop you off.
I
Like
feel like that's like construction pimping type vibe. Like, oh my God. But anyways, that's just to showcase of like Jersey is known to have a lot of like migrants and be a safe place for these people. And I feel like Mikie Sherrill is like, yes, we do need to maybe have like a we want people that are in the state to feel safe, but also we want to be a safe place for migrants to come. Versus Jack, I feel like he's like, we need a stricter approach, right? We need the same way we've been talking about like the ice rate, not the ice raids, like how Trump has been wanting to send like federal agents into these states to like reduce crimes and all of this fear mongering. I think anytime you involve more police and more of these federal agents, it's only going to increase crime. It's not actually going to reduce it. And the other point that I do want to make space for is that, yes, I do feel like people in Jersey feel like we have so many migrants that like my life now is becoming harder, right? Like I don't think it would be fair for me to sit here and say like, oh no, of course all the residents in Jersey want migrants to be here. No, I do think that there is a hefty amount of people that feel like because they are here and we're making space for them, my life is therefore harder, right? So those are the people that may lean more towards Jack because they do feel like, no, we need to get rid of them because they're making my life harder.
and I just want to say this and like I'm so sorry, mama, if you hear this, but that is such a fake ass excuse because especially with Jersey, when you go
Mhm.
to the shore towns, a majority of what you see is a lot of Italian restaurants and all these different people who came who are Italian immigrants. And I don't see ICE asking to deport none of them. I don't see that energy being placed on none of them. Y'all love the food, y'all love that culture, y'all love the people, right? But the
Mhm.
moment y'all see either it's Haitians, Latinos, or any other like immigrant or migrant, y'all saying no, they need to go. We can't be a safe haven for them, but we could be safe to the culture of every Italian restaurant, every Italian person who's open a restaurant, every nonna, this, that, pizza, this,
Right.
that, calzone, everything like that. Y'all are so quick to sit here and say, I support that 10 times down.
Yeah.
But the moment is you talk about places like Patterson, you talk about Newark. Oh, those immigrants, they're no bueno. They're no this, they're this, that.
It's like
So
there's a migrant tier system. If you look this way, it's like absolutely not. But if you white pass and it's like, oh yeah, come on in, we got space for you.
right. It's like it's cool, calm, collected. If you're a European immigrant, let's call it what it is. If you're a European immigrant, cool, great. I love you down, baby.
Mm,
But let's say you come from the Caribbeans. Let's say you come from Africa. Let's say you come from any of those places, Central America, anything.
yeah.
Baby, stay where you at. Why you here? Nah, don't come here, boo boo.
You hate to see it. So on to the next hot button issue for these two candidates, education. Okay. Mikie Sherrill. Mikie wants to boost funding for public schools and expand tutoring and mental health support. She also supports fixing aging school buildings and reducing gaps in education quality between districts.
Yes. And so Jack wants more parental control and transparency. He supports expanding charter schools and vouchers to give parents more choices and believes schools should publicly share what's being taught. Right. So Mikey wants more funding and Jack wants more freedom for parents, but both are saying they're trying to help students. Do you believe one approach is more realistic than the other?
For me, when I read this, the first thing is Jack sounds very much like Trump. When Trump was in the campaign, he was talking about we want parents to have more control, we want this, we want that. And I feel like they must have a different definition of freedom, right? Because their freedom, they say it's freedom, but is it really freedom? I feel like it would just bring up space for more hate. I feel like, because when people are saying that they want more transparency of what is being taught to kids, of course, I feel like transparency, we don't have kids, but like it sounds in theory like, of course, moms and parents would want to know what their kids are being taught. But then when you actually like are seeing it happening in terms of like Trump, he's like, oh yeah, we want to know what our kids are being taught. And the things that they are trying to do is like ban books that teach real history, right? Or like they're so afraid of kids learning about, stories that involve gay families. That's the type of stuff that they want to remove. It's like, what? I don't.
And I think for me, my problem with both of them is that they're not addressing the top issue, which is teaching, right? The amount of teachers who get laid off every day because schools don't have adequate resources. The amount of schools that people have put people in office and then there's automatically a discrepancy in the funding. And so then that forces all the different layoffs to happen. Schools can't do this, schools can't do that, and then it gets put onto the people in that town to have to put more money in to get a replenishment for the funds that have already been missing.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's what Mikey is saying. She says that she wants to boost funding for the public
Right.
schools.
And that's fine. You can boost the funding, but I also think we need to be strategic on what the funding is going towards.
Right.
Right.
Since 2018, New Jersey has been embroiled in a lawsuit arguing more needs to be done to improve the state's segregated school districts, a problem rooted in long-standing housing discrimination and the number of small districts. Would you continue fighting this in court, and what do you think New Jersey can do to achieve less segregated schools?
We do have the most segregated schools, but I wonder if we would be having this discussion if the performance of schools with predominantly Black student populations were outperforming schools with predominantly white populations. We need to get back on day one to improving all of our schools, and I intend to do that with a high impact curriculum. New Jersey recently slipped from 2 to 12 on the national report cards. Most of that's because we haven't made up for all the learning loss following the pandemic when Phil Murphy and the Democrats shut down our schools for 2 years. We opened up our nursing homes, but we closed down our schools. Louisiana and Mississippi have moved significantly. Louisiana from 48 to 32 with a high impact curriculum. What is that exactly? If your child is behind grade level in any of the critical life skills like reading, writing, and math, that child will spend the next market period and the one thereafter doing nothing other than reading, writing, math to get them on grade level. The data is clear. I'm a data-driven guy as an MBA CPA. If the child is not on grade level for reading, writing, math by the end of 8th grade, more than likely they will be underemployed their entire life. So while that lawsuit proceeds, let's fix the schools on day one with a high impact curriculum.
So I spoke before about county-based school systems because that can help address the segregation that we have going on in the state. It's also the way we have some of our best performing high schools, but we need to do more. We need high intensity tutoring because we know there's learning loss. And that's a special kind of tutoring that I've supported here in the state to make sure students get back on track. We also need to address 3rd grade reading and make sure we're pushing in phonics-based reading. We know that's the best way to help children read, and it's a reversal of the way reading has been taught lately. And we know 3rd grade is that critical inflection point, because if you're not reading at grade level by 3rd grade, you're not going to be able to move on very well to your math and social studies and history work if you can't read your homework. So in these ways, we can really push in as a state, get better outcomes, and address the segregation that we have going on here.
Could
Do we
you
have an extra
clarify if you're
15?
going to, with the lawsuit, clarify? Could you clarify if you're going to continue to pursue the lawsuit?
I don't think it's the governor that's pursuing the lawsuit. The entity that's pursuing the lawsuit, I'm not going to get in the way. What I'm going to do on day one is fix our educational system. It's not the executive branch that's pursuing that lawsuit.
They're fighting the lawsuit. The state is fighting the lawsuit.
Yeah, we're not going to do that if they let the lawsuit proceed. But I'll tell you what, I was in Newark this morning at a house of worship that has the largest black congregation in the state. And you know what they said to me? Fix our school system. Fix our school system. So there's a number of metrics that tell us if a school system is failing: attendance rate, graduation rate, performance on standardized tests, readiness for career if you're not going to high school, going to college. If a school system is failing in 2, 3, or 4 out of 4 of those categories, that district, that community needs choice. I'm going to give them choice. My opponent is not going to give them choice.
Mikie Sherrill, but 30 seconds for that. 30 seconds.
I think what you just heard is a very clear difference. I care deeply about our school system, and I'm going to make sure it performs better. I'm going to make sure that we're educating children for the future, especially with AI coming. But I'm also going to attack the segregation that we have going on in the state. My opponent doesn't care about that. He just wants to talk about the schools, but has not come forward with any solution for the segregation. I care about both. That's what I'm going to do as governor.
One final word.
We could integrate the Newark school system tomorrow, and it's not going to improve student performance. We need to change the curriculum.
Shayla and I were both raised in 2 different school systems.
Yeah.
Shayla went to a predominantly black and brown school. I went to a predominantly white school. There's things that I was taught that Shayla wasn't. And there's things that Shayla was taught that I wasn't. So I think there's discrepancies in both. Right. Mm-hmm. And the idea of trying to control what's being taught in school, the truth is the truth. We can't sit here and act like the white people who came here didn't treat black, brown, and Native American people like absolute dog dust. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's still things that people don't know. But also we have to make it a focal point we have to think there's people who live in these houses with their parents, and their parents are not going to explain nothing to them. What is school? School is a place for you to learn what your parents aren't going to teach you. Your parents can instill all these morals and everything into you. But if they are not making an educational focal point, where do you go to school to get that education points? All of them.
Yeah. And I think also I'm a real big advocate for public schools. Don't get me wrong. Yes. Do I feel like we need to switch up the curriculums to teach people things that actually matter? Of course. Yes. But I feel like a majority of people, again, I can only speak of my truth. I live in like Patterson, North Jersey, black and brown majority, like Rebecca mentioned. And so I feel like most people cannot afford to go to these like private schools that Jack Ciattarelli is trying to like push more of. I feel like charter schools are free. You just got to apply for them, or maybe there are some that you just
But I also just feel like I hear so many horror stories when it comes to charter schools. And don't get me wrong, public schools ain't that much better. But I just feel like a lot of times, like when you do hear about these charter schools, like you hear certain stories and it's just like, it's like, I don't know. It's just like education in America sucks, regardless of how you try to frame it, how you try to put it. Education in America is egregious. It's abysmal. Like the level of like, I've had cousins who came from Haiti, mind you, they're in like technically in Haiti, I guess you could say high school. What I'm learning in like my level of high school, they learned in middle school. It's like the education is automatically like very different. And that's why sometimes I get confused on why America thinks they're like the best in everything. Cause honestly, like,
yeah. And it's also just like, instead of focusing on all of these things of like, oh, well, charter and private and this, how about we focus on actually creating curriculums and an education system that is going to set up kids in general to succeed? Because as AI is growing and technology is growing, I do think that kids are becoming dumber. They're not like, I remember growing up I feel like we were raised in a kind of healthy medium where like we grew up without technology, and then little by little like technology was being enforced more. So like we had to do our own math problems without calculators. I feel like it wasn't until high school where it was like, oh, you get to use a calculator to solve problems.
Right.
Now I feel like kids don't even know what a multiplication like math look like, because they're just like just put it on the phone and boom boom bam. So I think yes, I feel like public schools need better funding. But like Rebecca said, we need to be breaking down the numbers. Teachers need to be paid more, and the curriculums need to be better. I don't think that, oh, parents are not teachers. Like, yes, you want the best for your child, but instill the morals and the things that you want at your house. When you go to school, you are there to learn. Okay. Sometimes I feel like parents think they're bigger than the program. If you feel like you are the best teacher to have ever existed, then just keep your child in homeschool. You teach them.
And I also don't want us to skip past this one point, especially when Jack Ciattarelli mentions transparency when it comes to parents being more informed. He is also discussing the fact of like kids who decide to claim to be non-binary or say they want to be for their pronouns. Like, when it comes to the topic of like transitioning, bless you, Shayla. Like when it comes to this like topic of transitioning, the LGBTQ plus community, like that is something that he wants to discuss. And I think I get it. Like I see it from 2 points. I believe 1000% parents should be included in these decisions. But I also think we have to be very realistic as to why sometimes these parents are not included in these choices that these kids are making. Because one, you don't support the child's decision. However your family's beliefs may be, you're gonna bash it. And like, that's when we get into the topic of mental health. Now, mental health is impacted. And it's like school should be that place where kids should feel free, should feel comfortable. So let me live comfortably as I am, because I'm not getting that same treatment at home. So I see it from like 2 perspectives. And it's just, I feel like, I don't know. I don't even know how to even like fix that, honestly.
And to put a bow on this subject, I do want to say it doesn't matter how many movies, shows, videos they show in school that show a gay or transgender person. If your child is not gay, they are not going to turn gay just because a video or a book was shown to them. I don't even play about my money, but I think people have this perception that, oh, no, we need to ban these books. I don't want my kid watching a video with a gay couple kissing because they're going to turn gay. Honey, that does not work that way. I promise you that.
And like, to your point, I just think like if we're going to have that same philosophy, it's like that should apply to everything. Cause like in school, I feel like, Shayla, for you learn more about like Black history and everything like that. For me, I
barely.
Well, yes, but like I feel like you learn more about it than me. I could tell you way more about the Holocaust and everything that happened during that time before I could even tell you that Rosa Parks wasn't even the first person who was told that she had to get up from her seat for a white man. Like, it's like until I put that education into myself, like I made it a point to educate myself in that way,
right.
I wasn't going to know that. So it's just like, if we're sitting here having that same philosophy that if we read these books or if we show these things that highlight the LGBTQ plus community, it's going to turn our children gay, then we should not be learning anything about the Holocaust at all, because are we saying we're going to turn kids into Hitler? It's like, are we having that, like that philosophy does not make sense.
It does not. On to the other issue, housing. Okay. If you are a recurring viewer, when President Trump got elected, I said, well, baby, yes, I said he was the man of the hour. The businessman, he gonna make everything so great. And so I said, well, baby, in 2 years, I am going to afford a house. So this is something that I feel is dear and near to me because I want to be a homeowner. Okay. I'm so serious. I want to be able to afford a home. And every day it feels like it's less likely happening. So let us break down where these candidates stand in terms of housing, right? So Mikie Sherrill says the cost of owning a home in New Jersey is out of control. I agree, girl. She wants to make it easier to build affordable homes by speeding up permits and offering tax breaks for developers. She also supports expanding down payment assistance for first-time buyers, me, and cracking down on investors who drive up prices.
Yes. And Jack says that high property taxes are the biggest barrier to owning a home. He wants to cap how much they can rise and expand the tax freeze program for seniors. He supports building more housing near cities and transit areas, but says the state should not force towns to add new construction they cannot afford. Right. So both are basically saying that they want to make housing more affordable, but Mikey's focused on building more homes while Jack focuses on cutting taxes. Which one which one do you actually feel like helps people trying to buy a home right now?
Honestly, I feel like the first time buyers need all the support they can get, honey. So if I was a politician, that's all I'm gonna like be on. First time owners, all this tax talk of this and that. Da, da, da. How can you help me get a home? Point blank, period. I don't the anytime people talk to me about taxes, I'm like, girl, y'all already taking enough from my check. Figure out what you can with that. How you gonna help me get a home? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Jack talking about stuff. I'm gonna read that again. He says high property taxes are the biggest barrier. I don't know. I don't know enough about home ownership, but I feel like the high property taxes is not. I mean, I'm sure it also is the issue, but if I can't even get support to buy my first home, I'm not even to the level where the high property taxes can become an issue.
And like I think for me it kind of correlates to like when I was buying a car. Like
Mhm.
I'm sure that was 2 years ago. I'm sure the tax limits then, I mean, not taxes, yeah, like the interest rates and everything like that then are way higher now, or maybe they could have gone down. I don't know. I'm not looking for a car, so I couldn't really tell you. But like I remember when the guy, he was like, interest rates are really high right now, this, that, and third. I'm like, sir, like honestly, if you need it, it's like I don't know why we talking about this. Like, can I get the car? Am I approved to get the car? Like, I get interest rates might be hard, but it's like if a need is a need, I don't know what we're talking about for real right now. I think for me, both of these people, they saying a lot, right? And it's like, yes, we can build, we can say we need like, first time owners, this, that, and the third. Some people don't want to be owners, some people want to rent. My problem is developers, the people who are maintaining these properties. At work, the amount of calls I get about people saying the elevators are broken, stairs are cracked,
Mhm.
there's mold in the building, there's no person to get in contact with, management is not helping, management isn't doing this, that, and the third. How can we hold the people who are like creating these buildings accountable? You can build as much as you want. You can build a luxury hotel here, affordable, I said hotel, luxury housing here, affordable housing there. Great, fine, and dandy.
Mhm.
Oversight. Who is looking at these managers? Who is looking at these developers and making sure that everything is above board? That is my problem. You can create all these places and rent is going to be what it is, unfortunately. Like,
We
unfortunately,
do gotta pipe down on them rents
no,
though.
honestly, it make sense, but at the same time, it's like you can build all these places. Parking is also an issue. So what you
Well,
gonna do about parking?
yeah, that's why I don't know. Jack talking about he wants to build more housing near cities. I think actually we do not need to do that. Like trying to find parking, the closer you get to North Jersey, the harder it is to find parking. When we've gone to Hoboken, to Jersey City, baby, we do not need to build more. There are already like very highly populated areas, and the more people want to live there, the higher the the rent is gonna be, the higher everything is gonna be. So I'm like, we don't need to be building more. My microphone keeps going down as I talk. Um, we do not need to be building more houses near cities. I don't agree with that. And
Like
yeah, I think we have. There's always new construction, but new construction means more expensive things that the people that are already living there cannot afford. So it's
exactly.
like, no.
Yeah. So I think for me, like especially when it comes to the topic of housing, we can make it like a whole thing when it comes to finances, and I get it, that is important, but it's just like the after is what's bothering me. It's like if I rent an apartment from you today, what do you mean my supervisor or the super of the building can't come and fix the leaky sink that I have, or like you know, Shayla has her own experience about getting her closet fixed. Like, you know, it's just like
I got a Jesus piece for life here.
so it's just like when it comes to like how are you maintaining the people who are spending their hard-earned money to give you rent? How are you maintaining that everything is perfect and, you know, stable for them as well? So I think that's where I kind of land. So Shayla had mentioned this a little earlier. We were talking about energy bills because in Jersey we got PSE&G, we also got JCP&L, you also got all these other people, right? So Mikie says that families are being crushed by the rising utility bills and she wants to act fast. She promises to declare a state of emergency on utility costs on day one if she becomes governor, freeze rate hikes for a year, builds out cheaper and cleaner power generation, and demands more transparency from utilities. She frames this as part of her broader affordability agenda to bringing down housing, healthcare, and utility costs.
Yep. And so Jack also says he's worried about skyrocketing energy bills. He blames the current energy policies and accuses the other side of failing to control costs. For example, he wants to, quote, clean house at the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities and halt programs he says increase costs, like shifting bills from usage-based to income-based. He criticizes Mikie's freeze plan as unrealistic and pushes for pulling the state out of the regional greenhouse gas initiative to reduce costs. And I'm assuming this regional greenhouse gas initiative is correlated to, you know, we talked about climate change several times, and I feel like Republicans think that climate change is like a hoax, that it's all fake, and yada 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 yada. So Mikie wants immediate action, and she wants to, like we mentioned, right? Like she wants to freeze all the rates and invest in cheaper energy. Jack wants structural change, holding utilities and regulators accountable and removing policies he says drive up bills. And again, I feel like for all the topics, they both agree that, like, you know, taxes are too high, the education system is not the best, but how they go about it differs. And
Yeah.
so for me, I feel like just get it done. I don't know. I feel like Jack is very focused on um the corporate side of everything. He's like, "Oh, we need to clean house on this and we need to this and we need to that." And it's like, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. But then also Mikie Sherrill says that she wants to what does she call it? She wants to
State of emergency.
yeah, on all utility costs, and I'm just like, how are you going to make that happen?
See, my whole thing is I somewhat agree with Jack Ciattarelli in terms of like holding the companies accountable because it's just like I feel like we always talk about this topic of like mismanagement of money and stuff like that. And it's just like I need more transparency in terms of why this keeps going up, you know? But then my problem comes is you clean house, who are you putting in place? Right? And that
Hello?
is where I'm like, my agreement stops right there. Both of them, y'all saying a whole bunch of lovely stuff. To me, it's a whole bunch of nothing because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when it comes to politicians this is why like I don't like to say that I'm assigned to a particular party because y'all gonna say whatever it is to say to make it sound good.
Right.
When you get in office, what are you gonna do? I can't sit here and lie and say Trump ain't do half the stuff he said he was gonna do. Right? I can't sit here and lie and say he ain't say from day one he wasn't going to do it. That's one thing I can't sit there and lie about. But my whole thing is like, y'all are making this sound real sexy, real cute. Mikie Sherrill talk about state of emergency. When we have been put in state of emergencies, I don't know what a state of emergency does.
Me either. Everything running as usual. It's like only I guess maybe it's an internal thing that triggers.
Maybe like in terms of like funding, like you could get more funding once you say that. But it's like to me, like, girl, okay, cool, do it. Like I don't. Okay.
Also, Jack saying shifting bills from usage based to income based. I feel like realistically, I don't think no corporation is gonna agree with that.
And it's like, I agree. Like, I think that's definitely something I commend as being an idea and a tool that could be used, but I don't see that actually happening.
Exactly.
Like, there's
That's like
people
me
who,
saying I want a home by tomorrow.
right. It's
Real
like you
cute.
could think that, but it's not gonna happen.
Hello.
So it's just like, yes, I think both of them, y'all saying a lot. It sounds real cute, real pretty, packaged up. But when I open up that gift, I better not see just a box full of shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what is giving to me. So the
Yep.
next thing we are going to talk about, health care, baby. That's one of the hottest buttons of the issues. Okay. So Mikie says that healthcare costs are out of control. I agree, girl. Okay. Okay. She wants the government to play a stronger role in keeping things fair. She supports protecting the Affordable Care Act, letting Medicare negotiate drug prices, and making hospitals and insurance companies show clear pricing. She also wants to expand funding for women's health and mental health programs.
Yep. And so Jack thinks the system should be more market driven, meaning private companies should compete to bring prices down instead of the government setting the rules. He believes that giving patients more freedom to choose their doctors and plans will create better options and lower costs. He also supports expanding telehealth and opposes vaccine mandates. I think that's a very important point right there, saying those decisions should be personal. So Mikie wants the government to step in and control costs versus Jack wants competition between private companies to handle that. Here's my thing. The reason why these like drug prices are so high is because we've let the private companies be in charge of them. These private companies only care about money. They're not worried about your grandmother's health, your mom's health, your aunt, your uncle. They don't care. They're like, girl, give me the money. So if you leave it up to them, they all gonna hike up the prices, and then it's gonna be like, oh, which of the high prices is best for the people? I don't think that's right. Another thing, I understand a lot of people is like, oh, we should not force vaccines onto people. Like it should be up to you and your family, whatever. I feel like as of right now, I feel like people don't really force you to get a vaccine. If you don't, once you go to your doctor and they all say like, "Oh, do you want this vaccine?" Like, let's say the flu vaccine, you choose whether you want to get that or not, right? I feel like when you're younger, it's a bit more stricter, where it was like, "Oh, in order for you to go to a public school, you need these types of vaccines in order to be allowed in the school." But
Yeah.
I feel like when with JFK already, he's doing a whole lot in the healthcare department. And it's like we don't need another person in our state trying to tell us like, oh, it's a free for all. Like you do what you want. If you don't want to get a vaccine, don't get it. Point blank, period.
And I think that conversation of like the mandate would happen definitely more with COVID, because like
Right.
COVID, like people were working, they're like, if you don't get a vaccine,
That was forced.
you cannot come in here. And I think, a lot of people had their own opinions and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm of the belief you're going to do what you want and do what you
Mhm.
will, but I just don't feel like whatever conspiracy you believe outside of what has already been considered facts, don't sit here, walk up to me and make it feel like my decision was stupid. If your decision was to not get vaccinated, don't sit here and look at me like I'm dumb because I decided to, because I believe what I wanted to believe,
And
right?
to that point, I also want to say I find it really interesting, right? People that think that they are bigger than the program, right? Like I have nothing if you don't want to get vaccinated, okay, but don't spread misinformation, because when you're not feeling sick, the same way you don't believe in vaccine, things that are, science based, tested, they're not just giving a vaccine the next day with no type of like research behind it. When you are feeling sick, you better not be pulling up to a hospital, because you are letting me know that you don't trust in medicine. You don't trust not a Mucinex, not a Advil, not a nothing. Because then people also get, in their feelings when you go to a hospital or something and they don't, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we don't feel comfortable giving you the help that you need because you don't trust in us, right? Like you can't be like, oh, I'm against vaccines and all of these things, and then in the same breath be like, well, I'm gonna reach out to y'all when I need help. Well, you don't trust in us. So do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I get exactly what you're saying. And I think also to Mikie Sherrill's point, when she says that the government should be more involved, I think that also is a problem with why we are in a lot of situations, right? Because of the government being involved in a lot of this stuff. Why do you think that's one of the main reasons why we're currently in a shutdown? Because certain people in the government feel like some people shouldn't have, not everybody should have the option of affordable health care, where some people believe that they should. So it's just like, it's, to me, it's just like, we're all talking, because at the end of the day, healthcare is expensive regardless of how you look at it. Like private, public, whatever it's expensive still. Even if you do have Medicare and anything like that, the cost of copays every time you go, a singular call is a charge. A singular visit is a charge. Like everything is additional cost on top of it.
And you're already paying monthly out your check. Well, not monthly, weekly.
Exactly. So it's just like, we're talking a lot. Again, we're talking a lot, but I just don't feel like either of these people's solutions isn't really a solution to me. I just see it's just another problem that's going to be placed in a different category for me.
Okay, but I just feel like Jack's saying we should leave it to the private companies. Maybe the private companies only care about their money, their coins, and their betterment. They are not going to be worried about reducing prices to make it more affordable for the people. And I do appreciate Mikie Sherrill talking about women's health and women's health care, because, our current president has been trying to, repeal legislation that was put in place to help women and their health.
And my whole thing is, when we get into the topic of mental health, I'm like, y'all really don't want mental health help at all, because like we say this all the time, and we've had episodes where we discuss this. We talk about every time there's a school shooting, a mass shooting, or anything like that, we talk about the topic of mental health, and then there is nothing, literally nothing done to sit here and actually implement that, right? So it's just like, yes, that's an important conversation, but I need to see, what is your plan? We could say every single day that mental health is an issue. We know that. We know that. But what is being done to actively help? The amount of commercials I've seen for BetterHelp, great. I'm glad y'all got these commercials. But the way I hit skip ad the moment the option pops up, like, cool, calm, collected. But what do y'all really have in place that's going to make mental health a focal point? Shoving drugs down somebody's throat every time they feel sad is not going to be the way to do it.
Yeah. The next topic, social services. Okay. So Mikie Sherrill wants to protect and expand programs that help families and vulnerable residents, like Medicaid, food assistance, and community health programs. She says cutting these programs would hurt working families and seniors. Basically, she wants the government to make sure people who rely on these services can get them reliably.
Right. And Jack says that the state needs to reform benefits and public worker protections to make social programs sustainable for the long term. This means changing retirement and healthcare rules for public employees so the state doesn't run out of money. He argues that if costs aren't controlled, future families could face higher taxes or cuts to services. So the key terms explained: Medicaid, government health care for low income people, social program reform, adjusting benefits, eligibility, or rules to save money or make programs last longer.
So Mikie wants to expand services and protect families today. And according to Jack, he wants to make programs more sustainable for the future. Here's my thing. The government has money. They just trying to be real extra stingy. The same way you take my tax money every single week out of my check, and maybe I get double tax because I work in New York and live in Jersey. Y'all need to give me my money. Give the people the money. I don't care. Jack talking about we need to reform. And essentially, in my mind, when I hear reform, he's trying to reduce the amounts and the number of people that are getting this assistance. So what he claims that everyone, it could last longer for years. No. Y'all could open them wallets that we are already depositing towards and give us our money. I don't understand this whole concept.
Just give me my money.
No, literally, just give me my money. And there has been a lot of, talk about how like Social Security in a few years may not be a thing. And my whole thing is, then y'all better stop taking Social Security out of my check today. And I know that sounds kind of selfish, because it's like, well, the seniors now need it, right? Like they're using my money to help the seniors now, and then in the future, the young people are gonna be paying for my social security benefits. And I don't know. I don't think that Jack's position on this is the best. I think that Mikie, I would support, or that aligns more with me. We need to make it more affordable for people to get these things. Not even affordable. We need to make it more reliable so whoever needs the help can get it. But in the same breath, I know there are people that feel like people are way too dependent on social services. Oh, well, people don't want to work because they want to be on food stamps and all the assistance is like, no, go work. But I feel like the middle class, not only in America, but in Jersey and every state it's like the worst place to be. When I was in college, I worked 2 jobs, and they were telling me that I couldn't get NJ family care because I was making too much money. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm making enough to be able to afford my books and, live a life. So then it's like, you're literally enabling people to not want to work. Because if, like, God forbid, you make enough to make ends meet, you're taking all the assistance away from me because I make too much money. So the middle class is like the worst place to be. You saying that you don't want people to just be living off of assistance, but then when you get one little good job that pays you enough, you don't want to help me no more.
And I think when this topic of too much money comes into play, because like I 1000%, as someone who grew up like in a medium, like middle class, middle class girl,
Middle class,
right,
honey.
middle class, who grew up in that middle class rate that people like to categorize. I've always had too much. Like it's always been, I have too much money. I have too much this. I have too much that. I can't get assistance for this. I can't get assistance for that. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and like act like I was the best student, especially when I was applying to college. Cause I was very much one of those typical girls. I wanted to do cheer, chase at the boys, be cute, do this, do that. So education to me, I didn't take education serious until my last semester, not semester, like my 4th marking period of junior year. And then I started taking it serious as my senior year went on. Right. So for me, because like I kind of started late, that's another reason why I couldn't get scholarships. But a lot of the scholarships that I did even try to apply to, they sat there and said that I didn't meet the requirement because my parents made too much money. And it's like, too much money to whose standards? Because I think we also have to take into account lifestyle, in terms of bills, in terms of this, in terms of that. Like y'all might think my parents make too much money, but the property taxes, they got 2 kids. They also got our grandparents. They also got all these things. You got to look at the lifestyle and what money is being spent on before you can classify it as too much.
Yes, it's like, girl, how the bills gonna get paid? And the thing that's even more triggering is when they want you to send documents of like the dirty money. So it's not even including the amount that you actually get after taxes. It's like, why you want to know how much money I get before taxes? That's not the money that's in my bank account. It's insanity. So I do think that we need to focus more on the middle class, because if you say that you don't want so many people on food stamps and social services, then you need to still provide help for those that are in the middle class. And no, I'm not depending on the government, but I could use a little help too, honey.
And I know, like, and Shayla's might disagree with me on this. Like, no shade, no tea. I get it. The elders need help, but they've lived their life.
No,
How am I going to progress? How you going to help me? How you going to help the people who still got kids to take care of, the people who are trying to figure it out, the kids who are trying to get away from like living underneath their parents' housing? Like, I get it. But for them, housing, like at the point when they was renting homes, it was $75 in a bag of cans.
No, but that's the thing. That's the thinking that I think Jack and his camp want you to be on, that, oh, we can't all be at the table. There is a way where we can support the elders and also help, the people in their midlife to also succeed. Like Jack wants you, in my mind, this is my opinion, Jack wants you to think that, oh, if we don't reduce the help for the middle aged people, then long term they can't get what they need. It's like, no, there is a way where we all can fit at the table. Y'all just need to
And I agree with
manage your money better.
I agree with that. I just think also what it is just that we keep creating all these different government assistance and whatever like that to say, oh, this is going to help you in the future. But it's
Right.
just like, I'm not even guaranteed that I'm going to make it to said future that you think I'm going to get to.
Help
So
me
it's just like,
now.
right. It's like you're telling me, oh, when you're 70 years old, who said I'm gonna make it to 70?
Girl, that's how I feel when I'm putting money towards my retirement plan. But I need to because retirement money, unless you got your little Roth or 401k, baby, it's not enough to pay the bills. So
Right.
let's move on to the connection these candidates have to our current president, Donald Trump. Mikie has made it clear she does not align with Donald Trump's policies. She positions herself as more moderate and says her focus is on practical solutions for New Jersey, not political drama.
Right. And Jack is endorsed by Donald Trump and has leaned more into the support and leaned more into that support in this race. He adopted some of Trump's messaging, but also says that he'll still govern independently for New Jersey. So Trump's name is still gets strong reactions from whoever you
Mhm.
decide to speak to, especially in this state. So do you think that that endorsement helps Jack or hurts him?
I think when it comes to Trump is either you're one side or the other. I do know people that are very strong Trumpers that as soon as they see that Trump endorses Jack, then Jack gets my vote. But on the other side, there are those that are anyone but Trump. And so after this endorsement happens, it's like, well, I know who I'm voting for. They might not necessarily agree with everything that Mikie Sherrill has going on, but what they do know is that they do not mess with Trump, and therefore they're going to vote for anyone but a Trumper. And
Go ahead. Sorry.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like it's either the two extremes. There's those that will never Trump, and there are those I'm going down the hill with Trump.
I will never Trump is crazy. I think for me, in terms of like hurts or helps, I think it also, like you mentioned, it depends on where you land.
Right.
If you follow Trump wholeheartedly, then it's like cool, calm, collected. And I feel like if you are like that, you kind of don't have a mind of your own because just because Trump said, like, I support this person, like, I don't know. Sometimes like endorsements really don't do nothing for me because it's like,
Mhm.
cool. I don't like, I'm going to think as me. And if I agree with what the policies that this person's giving, then I'm gonna vote that way. I'm not gonna, oh, because Obama said vote for this person, I'm gonna go do it. Like, okay, cool. I'm glad you said you support them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think that mainly just like helps or move people that don't really tap into politics. And it's like, oh, well, if it's someone that I, kind of like, and I see that they support this person, then I guess I'm gonna also vote for them. But if you're an individual that is tapped in and like cares about what is happening, then it's like, if I already had my mindset on who I was gonna vote, endorsements are not gonna
and
mean anything.
I don't want it to just be like the focal point on Jack. I think both of these cases, especially like Mikie Sherrill has made it a point. I don't like Trump. I don't support him, this, that, and the third. I think that helps and hurts her as well because then you're deterring the people who already were never going to support you. One, because we have to mention she's a woman.
Oh, yes.
So that's already one of the things that's already holding her like is going to be real. Like some people don't see women as leaders. So it's just like
Mhm.
that's one focal point that's already going to hinder her. And then you also add the fact that you have such a disdain for Trump. It's just like that's going to double hinder you. So I just
Yeah.
feel like it hurts her more than it could hurt him in my
And don't get it twisted. I know that I've said that Jersey is usually blue, but baby, we have some real red states and areas that will have that Trump Vans 24 flag flying real high in the streets. People have the Trump flags, the everything Trumpers. So don't get it twisted. There is a high percentage of Trumpers here that, to hear Mikie say up front, like, I'm a never Trumper, like Rebecca said, could hurt her.
yeah.
And in the same vein of endorsements, Mikie Sherrill is backed by Emily's List. And if you don't know who Emily's List is, it's a pro-choice females candidates, right? It's like an organization that is made up of women that are pro-choice. And pro-choice means like they're not against abortions or like let women do whatever they want. She's also got endorsements from Barack Obama and Amy Klobuchar, who was one of the people that tried to run for president a few years ago. She's also supported by many state Democrats and women's advocacy groups. And Jack Ciattarelli, as we mentioned, he has, I guess you could say, one of the biggest supporters because Trump is the current president. And he's also backed by several Republican leaders across New Jersey. He's also supported by some business and law enforcement groups.
Right. And I also just wanted to give a little background into their prior roles as well.
Yeah.
So Mikie has served in Congress since 2019. Your girl, mind you, y'all, quick fun story. When I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be on camera somehow. And so I had offered myself up as a political reporter. And so, and mind you, I had to be the political reporter for her district. And so my I guess my co-partner, co-anchor, co-reporter, he was at the Mikie Sherrill campaign, and I was at the Jay Weber campaign, and he had gotten in like support from Trump. And y'all, mind you, when I tell y'all, this was an experience because, like, you know, as someone who grew up in a predominantly white town, like, I don't mind being the minority. Like, I'm gonna walk into the room and you gonna know it's me. But when I tell you, I walked into a room of just straight up white people, and the moment, I mind you, the only black people were me, my senior producer, and a server at the establishment. Those were the only people of color. Girl, the moment me and her walked in, everybody said, shh. It's like, you know, like you could just hear silverware drop.
Oh my God.
So
That's
one
so
girl
bad.
asked me, she's like, do you need help looking for something? I'm like, yeah, I'm here to cover the Weber campaign. Like, it was so,
You felt like they were like, Ariana, what are you doing here?
it was so, mind you, they had a baby in a Make America Great onesie. Like, I was like,
That child got nothing to do with this. Leave the
girl,
child alone.
I was just like, oh my God. I was nervous because, one, I'm not really, my politics isn't my strong suit, but then also anything I said, people were walking up to me and they're like, do you know? And like this man walked up to me, he's like, do you know what his beliefs were on conversion therapy? And like, you know me, I'm gonna do my research. I was like, well, he said that he didn't really have like a policy, but he's like, you know, this, that, and the third. He was like, oh, like you actually did your, sir. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So Mikie Sherrill has served in Congress since 2019. Before that, she was a federal prosecutor. And if you didn't know, let me help you remember, a Navy
highlight on this.
helicopter pilot. Okay.
And we need to highlight that point.
Navy helicopter pilot.
And I had to say something on this. I feel like the emphasis that they are putting on the fact that she was a Navy helicopter pilot must go. Thank you. We appreciate your service. But everyday Americans are not moved by that. It might move me like a little bit like, oh, you know, she served for our country. Thank you so much. But if every ad starts or begins with the fact that you were a Navy helicopter pilot, how is that going to help me own a home? How is that going to lower my utility bill? How is that going to help me open a business? Like, we don't care. We don't, like, we care, but like, thank you.
But
that's something you tell someone once and that's it.
Yeah, they've made it a focal point in her whole entire campaign. Every campaign she starts, when I was I'm like, girl, I don't care.
And I think maybe the reason why they're putting an emphasis on this is because, as you mentioned, she is a woman and people don't feel like women are built to lead. And so in order to kind of reach that Republican side, you know, I feel like Republicans love a good service person, right? Like if you are a part of the Navy, the whatever. So I think her expressing that or reminding people this all the time is in hopes of getting more Republicans to get on her side. But I feel like at this point, everybody and their mother know that you was a Navy pilot.
Like,
That's it.
congratulations. Like, if the plane going down, I'll make sure to look for Mikie. Like, girl, I get it. So, and then just to mention, Jack Ciattarelli is a former state assemblyman who represented the 16th district and previously ran for governor in 2021. And I want to also, piggyback off the point that you were making, is that one of her other things that she's mentioned is that she served this country and he didn't, right? And so I think, like, they're trying to also go off of that non-traditional aspect that, like, typically it's the men who serve this country and the women are the ones, like, at home doing whatever. And it's like in this one, it's kind of like the roles are reversed. Like, he has more of like a political career and she has like both a, service career. She also, I never knew she was a federal prosecutor, honestly, because I only knew about her and her helicopter.
But this is also a representation of being a woman in America. We always have to do more. And even then, like, even still is never enough. Like, the fact that she is white does also help her, because I can only imagine if it was a woman of color, baby, we wouldn't even be in the conversation, child. But it's
Yeah,
like,
she would have been out right at the midterms.
so it's like, she's a woman, she has all of this political background, and still there are going to be those people that just feel like, no, she's not fit to be a leader. Another thing that I want to talk about is red flags, right? As we mentioned, no candidate is perfect. If you're looking for the perfect candidate, baby, you will never hit a voting booth. Okay. So Mikie Sherrill has faced criticism for her personal stock trades while in Congress for filing some reports late. Her handling of an old Navy Academy cheating scandal has raised questions about her transparency. I remember, like, a few weeks back, they were trying to make this like a whole big thing of like, oh, she lied about this and da-da-da-da. I just, it wasn't moving me enough. Another thing is, some Democrats say she has distanced herself from progressive issues like police reform. So those are a few little red flags from her camp.
Yes. And then Jack Ciattarelli, one of his advisors, made comments against same-sex marriage and Jewish communities, which sparked more backlash.
We want to have a ban of same-sex marriage. Vote for Jack. One last thing, before we take a photograph with Jack Ciattarelli, every time I got hired, people from my community, when I was blamed that somebody said you are taking money from Jews, I said, I check my bank account every day, brother. It is not there.
Dr. Abrar, just once I wish you would say what's exactly on your mind. Let's hear it one more time for the doctor.
He's been criticized for his business ties to a company linked to promoting opioid painkillers, and his record shows opposition to raising minimum wage and certain worker protections, which has upset labor groups, right? So when it comes to these, like, we started off by saying, now, Shayla and I don't care for any of these candidates, right? Obviously,
But we will vote.
We will vote. We will vote because, it's the civic thing to do. But I think when it comes to these red flags and backlashes, no one is perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, for me, I get it, especially like when it comes to like topics about money and stuff like that. I think for me, what would move me more is if somebody does something so egregious in terms of like morally, like one of them was seen sleeping with a 14-year-old. Like, like if it was something like that like, is really going to deter me. When it comes to her service record, cool, calm, I don't care.
I think someone like a test or she lied about something.
It's just like, if you sat here and act like you've never cheated on a test before, you are actually a liar. Like, please. The way I used to
girl, let's not even get, we are not promoting cheating. Next.
Right. When it comes to his links to promoting opioid painkillers, I think that kind of gets me like to me, it's just like, what do you consider linked? Because there's been companies that Shayla and I have worked for who have been linked to certain things, but just because I work for the company or I'm an employee of that company, that does not mean that automatically has something to do with me.
Well, the thing that I'm not messing with is his advisors making comments
Oh,
against
yes.
same-sex marriage
Yes.
in
I was
Jewish
gonna get there.
communities. Oh, okay.
When I saw that, right, I think it's very interesting, not because I don't think a lot of same-sex people, I said same-sex people. I don't think a lot of people who are in the LGBTQ plus community are going
Yeah.
that route. There are certain people that we know who are a part of that community who are going to be voting for him
Correct.
just because like they vote red for everything. They even support Trump, and Trump clearly don't mess with them. But again, your beliefs, your wherever you put your morals and your standpoint is where you're going to put it. Now, for me, I do know a lot of people who are in the Jewish communities who are very heavy Republicans, right? And I don't know how far they are in terms of like their beliefs, in terms of like religion and everything like that, that is going to deter them. But if me, personally, me, if he was to sit there and say, oh, like I don't even like all I want from Catholics is money and stuff like that, and like da 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 da, for me, that would automatically deter me, right? But I don't know if it's going to be a deterrent for people. Like a lot of people who support Jack, I don't think are like, yes, there's Jewish Republicans, but I don't know if every I can't speak for the Jewish community and say that a bunch of them support him wholeheartedly and they're going to vote for him. Like I feel like a majority of the people who support him don't really fall in those communities. So it's just like, for me, it's not really going to do anything for them because there's no impact in that statement for them.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to end on this very Jersey focused issue, right? Which is the Gateway Tunnel project.
This whole thing has been real Jersey focused.
Well, yes, but this is more so like for real. Like it's not gonna impact you unless I guess everything we said is that. But regardless, the Gateway Tunnel project, right? So this is a huge transportation plan to build new train tunnels under the Hudson River connecting New Jersey to New York City. Right now, the tunnels that thousands of commuters, including Rebecca and I, because we commute to New York often, we use every day, are over 100 years old and were damaged during Hurricane Sandy. They're falling apart, which means constant delays and a real risk that one could shut down entirely, right? So the Gateway Tunnel project is an initiative, right, or a project to help increase the transportation between New York and New Jersey, right? And the things that they say they would change as part of this project, double train capacity between New Jersey and Manhattan, cut down travel delays for commuters, create thousands of jobs during construction, and modernize one of the most important pieces of rail infrastructure in the country, right? So they were supposed to be doing a whole lot of to help fix the commuting system between New Jersey and New York. And so Donald Trump has recently said, as he has talked bad about every single Democratic led state, Jersey got a hit too. He's like, I'm about to cut the funding or halt the funding for this Gateway Tunnel project, right? And if you're wondering, well, how did this candidate react to Donald Trump's, kind of hit on the project that is important to the state? Jack Ciattarelli said on X, he said, New Jersey needs a governor who has the standing to work with and when necessary, disagree with the president and advocate for New Jersey's fair share of federal tax dollars, including the Gateway Tunnel. This is a critical infrastructure project, and I will fight to get it done. Here's what this is how Mikie Sherrill responded. I first ran on a promise to build the Gateway Tunnel, and I delivered. We proudly secured a full funding agreement. And then this is her reaction to Jack Ciattarelli's kind of like monotone response. She said, quote, when Jack got Trump on the phone tonight, because recently Trump had a little telecall to help support Jack in his campaign. When Jack got Trump on the phone tonight, he couldn't even bring himself to say a word about New Jersey commuters and Trump's attack on the Gateway Tunnel project. It's pathetic. And so I say all of this to say that when we think about who we want to represent us, right? Because this is the governor of our state, I want somebody that is going to speak up when they see something is wrong. Beating around the bush, especially when it comes to President Donald Trump, baby, is never going to work. One thing about Trump, he said what he said and he meant what he said. And if he said he's going to cut the funding, I will give him that. Everything that Trump has said he is going to do, he has done, whether people like it or not. People be like, oh no, there's no way he's going to be able to do it. Trump finds a way, and I will give it to him. Whether you like it or not, he said what he says, and he is going to do that. And so if Trump said that he's going to cut funding or halt the funding for this very important Jersey project, I expect our governor to be like, absolutely not. We agreed on this, and I need my money because my people need these. People need this project done. Point blank, period. This Jack Ciattarelli talking about we need to find a way to talk and we're gonna get it done. Sir, have you learned anything from Trump?
And my whole thing is, I just think you can't be cordial with everything, and you can't be cordial about everything. With this Gateway Tunnel project, one thing that a lot of people make is like, we need to make more jobs. We need to make more jobs. If we halt this project, there are automatic jobs being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
We always complain about transportation in New Jersey, and we always say the trains are this, NJTransit's that, this, that, and the third, MTA does this, that, and the third. And it's just like, I feel like if there are projects who are saying that, like, this is one way for us to benefit and like help the issue, it's
Right.
like, why would we stop that? And like, Trump said that, he's going to stop funding and stuff like that. But it's like, you can't stop funding that was already approved by these certain offices unless you go through the actual court. So like, honestly, he's saying stuff like, yes, it might be paused right now, but you can't just like strip away funding that was already allocated for that.
Baby, listen, I don't put nothing above Trump. I feel like he's always found a way. And if the funding Trump froze does not get restored, the project could stall or stop completely, hurting commuters, construction jobs, and the regional economy. So I feel like, to close this out, whoever you vote for governor, just keep in mind it is going to impact you and your daily life. And you want someone that can go toe to toe with the president and other governors are on your state, because this person is going to represent you, point blank, period.
And I just want to say before we end this out, Shayla and I wanted to make sure we did this episode because, like, out of the both of us, Shayla does care more about politics and everything like that. And it's not to say that I don't care. I just don't feel like I'm not really worried about y'all. Like, I know what I want. And it's like, unless you're going to really talk about how like that's going to happen, you really just talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it is important, especially with the way that decisions are consistently made, because regardless if you vote or not, someone will be put in place.
Hello.
So why not have a say in who you believe should be put in place? And if it doesn't work out, sometimes like we live in a voting system. The majority is going to win. Just know that you made a point to make sure that your vote was actually counted to something, even if you didn't win. And we just wanted to give you guys these little, quick takes. And mind you, there's a lot of hot button issues, but these are just the ones that have been discussed a lot recently. Don't take everything we just said. Also do your own like research and everything like that, because it's quick to be like, me and Shayla gave our opinions throughout. If you don't believe anything that we said, don't waver from what you believe, but do your research and make sure that you are comfortable with decisions that you are about to make.
Yep. And so remember, November 4th is the day. Make sure that you get in the booth and vote, because if not, baby, I don't want to hear you complaining about this, that, the third. And if things don't go your way, like Rebecca said, at least when the history books are written, baby, you know where you stood. Because the worst thing is when you wasn't even a part of the program. Baby, I could tell my kids, oh no, honey, I fought for this and I did this. There's people out there that fought for our right to vote, whether you like it or not. I'm grateful for that, because there was a time and a place where I wasn't allowed to vote or have a say in anything. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Make sure, comment a little voting emoji. I don't know if there is one. Find it. We're grateful for you, and we will see you guys next Friday. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at toomuchsbp. See you guys next time.
Bye. Y'all.